What is the most hated and reviled Beatles album of all time? Hello, folks. Welcome to the Matthew Street channel. And in this video, I hope to answer that question. Now, folks, when I talk about the most reviled or hated Beatles album of all time, I'm not talking about the music. If you're a Beatles fan, if you know the Beatles music, you know there's nothing wrong with the Beatles music. So I'm not here to highlight that. If you're just a fan of the group in general, this is not about the Beatles as a group. They did nothing wrong. Their music did nothing wrong. But this release is a truly abysmal release. It was not needed and it was not wanted, okay, by anybody, I don't think. The shame is this release was the first release after the untimely passing of John, which is a tragedy that we lost John so tragically, and then this is the first Beatles release that comes out after his passing. It's just a shame. Now, since 1973, when the great Red and Blue compilation albums came out, there have been numerous, and you know it, numerous Beatles compilation albums. Now, like the Red and Blue, some have been big hits, and some have been tragic misses, okay? Let's be honest with that. Now, 1982 was a down year for Beatles releases, okay? Because early in that year, on March 22nd, 1982, a real pig was released to the world. And in my opinion, this has to be the most reviled and hated Beatles album ever released, okay? You may disagree with me, but this is my opinion. Now, like I said, when I'm saying reviled and hated, it's all relative. I mean, we're talking the Beatles here, so take this video with a grain of salt. I'm just, trying to be dramatic here, folks. You get my drift. But the album is called Real Music, songs featured in their films. What a compilation, and not in a good way, folks. Number 19 on the U.S. album chart. There was also a single released with this compilation, Real Music. It was called The Beatles Movie Medley. This single made number 12 on the U.S. charts, and yet, for something that charted that high in the U.S. Billboard Top 40, it's not even on the album. Capitol, whoever decided, brain dead people over there said, oh, we got to, here's a number 12 single, but let's not put it on the album. I get it. It wasn't on the charts yet. But you know what I'm saying? You release a single. You go all that out of that way to release a single, and then you don't even put it on the album? Makes no sense. The B-side. Now, you're going to have to help me with this one, folks. I did a little bit of background on this, and I couldn't figure out which one was more rare. There were two B-sides. One was called Fab Four on Film. It was about 6 minutes long where the Beatles discuss their film career, as it were. And then there's another pressing of the Beatles movie medley single where I'm Happy Just to Dance With You is the B-side. Now, I have both of them on printed 45 picture sleeves, but I'm not sure, is one more rare than the other, or were they printed 50-50? I'm not sure. I need your help with that. But anyway, there were two B-sides for the movie medley single. Now, despite, I think this is a horrible release, the album Real Music got the Gold Record Award for 500,000 copies or more sold. Yes, it did. Now, I don't know how much it sold in the end, what its total tallies were, but it did get a gold record. You got to give it that. Number 19 on the charts. But like I said, folks, I don't like this release. I think it's the most hated Beatles release of all time. Now, listen up. Capitol, for some reason, was very proud of the LP design of this album. Oh boy, they They pulled out all the stops with the art department on this one, folks. Let me tell you. Yet what they fail to realize over at Capitol or Apple, whatever, whoever was the brain dead child behind this release, that was one of the worst parts of it. The artwork, the album design. Now, they did ride it into the ground, and I'm going to explain all the different nuts and bolts of what came with it, what was printed to promote it, and all this stuff. But yet, it still stinks to high heaven. It's not a good designed package. It just is not. Now, I did a video recently about the Beatles Love Songs compilation from 1977, and despite what you think of that release or not, you have to admit, that is one classy, art-wise, design-wise, that is a classy Beatles release. Love Songs is a beautiful package. Not real music, in my opinion, folks. Now, like I said, they got this elaborate cover. I don't know who the artist was. I'm not here to make fun of the artist. But, folks, any 8th grade art class, in any middle school in America today could have drawn the images just as well, if not better, than on this elaborate cover design that they put out for real music. Now, you get this fancy booklet. I will say, nice touch to put a booklet in, but the same kind of art design is on the cover of the booklet. Now, the interior is a little better because there's 12 pages in this inserted booklet, and in the insert, inside the pages, I should say, each Beatles film gets 2 pages. So A Hard Day's Night gets a nice 2-page spread. And I'll be showing them here, so I don't know if you'll be able to see them too closely, but you'll be able to get an idea. You got the Help gets a 2-page spread. Magical Mystery Tour, 2-page spread. Yellow Submarine gets a nice 2-page spread, and certainly Let It Be gets a 2-page spread. Very nice touch with doing that. Like I said, the front of the booklet is the same art design that's used on the cover of the album. Now, on the cover of the album, the Beatles are, in all their different movie configurations, are arriving to a premiere of all the films, and big capital letters on top of the marquee, and then all the films are listed. You'll see it in the images I show, and all the different Beatles from those different eras. So the Help guys are arriving in their little winter outfits, and there's the Hard Day's Night guys arriving in their suits and ties, and of course the Magical Mystery Tour Beatles are jumping out of the limousine in their costumes, the crazy mask and all that stuff, and you get the Yellow Submarine cartoon guys have come to life, and then they're coming into the movie premiere, and then of course you get the bearded, long-haired Beatles from Let It Be arriving, and this whole idea is spread over the front of the cover, which leaks onto the back of the cover. You'll see the back of the cover here. Well, on the booklet, now it's showing all these characters of the Beatles inside the lobby, getting ready for movie time, getting their popcorn and getting their soda and all their treats and commiserating and all talking together. All the different teams are split up, and I'm sure a few were in the bathroom relieving themselves before the great grand premiere starts, that type of thing. But anyway, folks, okay. Cute idea, but it just wasn't executed well, in my opinion. Now, there's a nice hype sticker. I'll show you the hype sticker. Very nice. I mean, they did put a lot into this thing. It's like one of those things like you think they got a bullseye here and they just don't quite hit it. It just flies off and misses the target completely. There's a very glossy inner sleeve, printed both sides. One side I believe, shows all the Beatles releases up to that point, and the other side just shows them like all their images, different images of the Beatles within a film strip, different film strips. You get custom labels, which was, like I said, they really went all out for promoting real music with new labels, hype sticker, booklet, inner sleeve. I mean, they went all out, but they just missed the mark. I'm going to keep saying that because it's the horrible release, and most people hate it. Custom labels, different printed color schemes on each side. You get the original, most popular release that I have is the black vinyl edition of this real music release, but there's also a limited edition gold vinyl of real music. Very hard to find, kind of rare, but maybe some of you have it or you can find it. Now, They were, like I said, they rode this thing into the ground, and even though it still stinks to high heaven, there's ancillary promo products up the yin yang. You got buttons, you got a Real Music button, you got a Real Music promo shirt that's like, it's going for like eBay now for like $200 or something if you want the promo shirt. Pins, a promo pin. I've seen posters. I've seen stickers. I mean, they really pushed this thing, folks. They were pushing Real Music. And for all the effort of promotion and marketing they put into this thing, to only get number 19 in a gold album from the Beatles, that's pretty lousy in my opinion. Okay, so that's another reason why I say this is the most hated, reviled, stinky Beatle release ever. Now, yet for everything they did with all these ancillary products and stuff, this cover, I've seen polls on this cover in different, Beatle world places you can go in that, and it's been voted the worst Beatles cover of all time. All right. This is, obviously there's the 13 original UK Beatles releases, but if you go into the world of, greatest hits and compilations and live, just every officially released somewhere Beatles album, Real Music is usually voted the worst cover of all time. It's just horrible. People have made comments about this album. People I've talked to personally and reading up on this album call it a pointless collection. That Capitol or whoever, it was just desperate rubbish. A lot of my British counterparts will say that. Desperate rubbish, don't you know? They'll say, obviously the songs are great. It's the Beatles. They're all fabulous songs. It's not that, folks. It's not the music. But they'll say, okay, the songs are great, but it doesn't gel as an LP. To have a few songs here from Hard Day's Night mixed in with Let It Be and Let Yellow Sub and Magical Mystery Tour and hell, they're all great music, but it doesn't gel, and it doesn't fit. It's unnecessary. It just was a totally unnecessary release. And it certainly, in my opinion, has not aged well over the years. It just has not. It's just, and let's be honest, the medley itself is disgraceful. It was edited horribly. I don't know, amateur editing. I don't know if they had Mrs. McGillicuddy's third grade audiovisual class do the editing on the medley, but that's what it sounds like. They could have, Mrs. McGillicuddy's third grade class could have done a better job than what they did here. When you think about a year or so further, there was that, it was not the Beatles, but a sound-alike group did the Stars on 45. Remember that was a big top 40 hit. So I think this Capitol, this Beatles movie medley was trying to cash in on that by doing an official Beatles movie medley. And I'm sorry, the Stars on 45 medley is much better and was probably more well-received than this was, in my opinion. So again, another thing, to chalk up to why I think this thing stinks. Now, a lot of people have said, I don't notice as much, but I'm not an audiophile. Some people are much better at that than me, but a lot of people I've talked to and have said that the Capitol pressing of this album is horrible, bad. And some people have said it's the worst they've ever heard, the way they press this thing, the way the mix, I don't know what they did to it. Some of you know better than me, you can tell me. But a lot of people have said they don't like the way this thing sounds. But basically, folks, I'm just here to have a little fun, but I'm also here to ask you, what do you think? Is this Real Music the most hated Beatles LP ever? Do you agree or disagree with that statement? I mean, I still have mine. I've shown you a lot of stuff here, but yeah, I still got mine. Still got the hype sticker and still in the shrink. And there's the, like I said, I was talking about all the releases on the back of one side of the inner sleeve. I got in there. I keep it all nice in my little polyline thing. It's all in there nice, very neat and clean. Yeah, booklet. It's all there. It's all there. I have it. Got to have it as part of the collection, but I got to be totally honest with you folks. I don't think I've listened to this thing more than maybe I could count on one hand or less that have actually put this on and I want to listen to Real Music. Where is it? I want it. Very rarely. If I'm going to listen to some Beatles, folks, there's a lot of other stuff in the UK release. There's a lot of other stuff I'm going to put on before I reach for this pig. I'll tell you right now. So again, when I say pig, don't get mad at me. Not the Beatles, not the music, the release. Horrible. Okay? In my opinion, the most hated Beatles album of all time. Now you could say, well, Matt, that's just you. Okay, it's me. I hate it. Okay? Folks, I love you all. Thanks for having a little fun with me. I just wanted to get some more content out to you and just say, I really want your opinion. What do you think? Is the Beatles' real music a dog? Is it a pig? Is it stink? Is it lousy? Tell me what you think. Love you all. Bye-bye.